So tonight's theme for our finale is bash. So it is going to be stories about grand parties, tough fights, tough blows, and other wild nights out. Tori, you got any stories that you can appropriately share?
Okay, this is a safe space. No cops. I know there's one out in the parking lot. He can't catch me. Me and my friends may or may not have broken into a house. It was abandoned in middle school, and we broke a bunch of stuff. I think we founded the rage room, so I argue that was fine. I did that. We broke. It's fun to make like glass noises.
Feels good.
Yeah, inside. What about you? Any?
Well, off the top of my head, I heard a bash because my car almost got stolen, but I didn't.
That wasn't me.
It was Tori and her friends, so but we're past it. So if anybody has a Hyundai or Kia, let them know.
Oh yeah, that's like a TikTok thing. They're like stealing cars from that, right?
It's crazy. Yeah. So please get ready.
Are you guys ready? Sorry, that sucks.
Yeah, I don't want to get into the details of that.
Yeah, but let's camp out at Summer's house and find them.
Please.
No? Okay, no one wants to do that. Summer, sorry, I tried. I tried. The first storyteller of the night is Emily Romano. Emily's going to share a story about a couple of crashes with different side effects.
All right, put your hands together for Emily Romano.
So it's dusk, it's late December, and I am driving illegally down the Massachusetts Turnpike in one of the worst snowstorms the state has seen. The night before, the Massachusetts governor was like, stay home. Our snowplows cannot handle the snow. And this is a state where we allow our sullen teenagers to wait at school bus stops in shorts and hoodies. We have a very cavalier attitude towards snow. But this night, I knew it was dangerous to drive down the highway. And how did I find myself doing this? Well, 6 months before, I had just graduated from an audiology doctorate program, and I had finished a 10-month residency in New York City. So by day, I was a very poorly paid audiology intern, and by night, I was selling shoes to drag queens in Union Square, which is another story, but... So I was tired after 10 months of city living, and I thought that I was ready for calm and peace. I took a job in a small, sleepy western Massachusetts town, Pittsfield, Mass. And as the glorious fall colors faded into brown sticks and the blue skies turned heavy with gray clouds, a bone-chilling cold descended upon New England. And I realized I had underestimated the terrible majesty of New England winters. I didn't think to reach out to other people, to my coworkers for help. I had no community, I had no friends, no family. And gradually and almost suddenly, I started to turn inward and found myself at fault for the unhappiness and the guilt that I was feeling. I began to think that I was worthless, that life was meaningless. And I began to make plans to kill myself. And as the holidays were approaching and work was going to shut down, I knew it wasn't safe for me to stay home. And I thought, maybe if I can get to Central Mass where my parents lived, I'd be okay. So that's how I found myself. What should have been a 2-hour drive down the highway was a 4-hour drive. And when I found the exit, I thought I was home free. It was just like 30 minutes to an hour of winding country roads to my parents' house. But I took a turn a little too fast, and a stone wall met us, and the car just smashed right into that wall. And my head hit the steering wheel. There was no airbag, and I knocked myself senseless for a couple of seconds. And when I woke up, the metronome of the car was sputtering. And I thought, oh no, the car is dying. And this was a car that my friend had gifted to me when I graduated from grad school. She could have gotten money for it. She'd taken care of it so carefully. It was an older car, but she gave it to me. And in the space of several seconds, I had destroyed this act of generosity. I looked to the side, to the wind, to the woods, and the words of Robert Frost entered my mind. These woods are lovely, dark, and deep. And I thought about going into those woods and never coming out. But then the beauty of the winter night, the snow covering the sleeping forest, propelled me forward. I had no cell phone. There was no one around to ask for help. I just decided I was going to walk home from there. And when I saw the lights through the forest of my parents' house, I was so happy. I went up to the door and I knocked, and my father opened the door. He had been feeding logs into the fire, and the warmth felt so good on my skin after that long walk through the bitter cold. He embraced me as I stepped through the threshold, and he said, "Mamita, where's the car?" And I said, "I'm sorry, it's gone. Can I go to sleep?" And he said, "Sure." And he let me go upstairs. He knew what I needed to do. I took off my outer layers, my boots, and I just fell into the down comforter and fell asleep. And in the morning, I woke up to the sound of a bash. And suddenly I knew what that sound was. It was the sound of a bird smashing against the window. That happened a lot in my parents' house in the forest. And for the first time in 6 months, my life had purpose. And that purpose was to find that bird. Because I knew that if that bird was unconscious lying in the snow, it wouldn't take very long to freeze to death. So I pulled on my coat and my boots and I ran downstairs and I went around the corner of the house and I found that bird, this little ball of fluff lying in the snow. My fingers were stinging from the bitter cold. I scooped it up in my hands. I was surprised at how fast its chest fell and rose. I didn't know birds' hearts beat that fast, but it felt so cold in my hands, and I wanted it to live so much. So I bent forward and I breathed hot breaths into its little body, and it woke up. Its little black eyes blinked open, and it looked around, trying to gain its bearings. And then it looked at me, and it cocked its head in this strange communion that we held each other in. And I felt it relax in my hands. And then it looked away from me in trust at the forest that surrounded us. And something called to it, and it flew out of my hands, and I watched it bounce on the currents as its wings flapped. And I was so, so happy that day. It's taken a long time for me to be able to sit with that storm that occasionally descends upon me. I deal with it with time and with patience. When the storm descends, I look to the skies, I watch the birds, I breathe in the air that we all breathe, and I feel the ground holding us in love and tenderness. With as much tenderness as love as I held that bird that day. Thank you.
I'm glad that you're here. I think that bird's gone, though. I'm just kidding. But I'm glad you're here. And if you guys are struggling, there is help. There's a hotline. I don't have it handy.
We'll get it.
We'll get it.
Thank you for sharing, Emily. Nature can be really healing. So
It can.
Take those mental health walks, even if you're grumpy. So thank you, and I'm glad that
I love the
Birdie
ball
was
of fluff
okay.
thing. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Let's let her hear it one more time.
Yeah. Alrighty, our next storyteller to the stage is Angela Guajardo. Angela shares a story about the ultimate teen party, the quince.
Ooh. Put your hands together for Angela Guajardo.
So I always wanted to have a quince when I was younger. And I remember when I was 14 and I was in Monterrey, Mexico, and we went to my prima's quince. And a couple days later, they were so excited because they said, "Oh, you're next. We're going to have a quince for you. Try on the dress." And I tried it on and I was all excited. And then they asked my mom, is Angela going to have a quince? And my mom said, "I don't know. I don't think so. We're in the restaurant business. There's no time for that, let alone plan for it in another country." And then they said, "Well, doesn't she have her sacrament? She's all good to go." And my mom said, "No." And they said, "Well, that's okay. We can fast track that in Mexico." And there's no time for catechism or planning a big party when you're in the restaurant business. So when my daughter came along, I knew I wanted to have a quince for her. And for those of you who are not sure what a quinceañera is, it's a rite of passage from girlhood to womanhood. And it's a big party, kind of like a debutante or a sweet 16. And so our daughter loves music, very unconventional, not traditional in any sense. And so when it came time and we asked her, "Do you want a quince or do you want a car?" "I want a quince." We're like, "All right." Because we felt like in her mind, she thought, "I'm going to get the car anyways." And so we said, okay. And then, we said, okay, the dress, the music, what do you want? Colors, location. And then this Pinterest dress, it was gold sequins and then blush tulle. And it looked like an old world, party dress from the 60s. And I said, okay. And I'm the kind of person, hell or high water, I'm going to find it. So I called the source, looked it up. "Can I buy this? I don't care how much it is." And they said, "It's too delicate. We can't, it's not going to last that party." So then one of my students, I'm an educator, overheard the story and she said, "I can make that dress." She was in fashion design. And I said, okay. So there I am with bolts of tulle and tow. And then I got the sequin stretchy part for this and she made it. And then we were just going with it. And that was the inspiration for this quince. So then with the quince, there's, okay, what's transportation from the church to the venue? Where's the venue going to be? The cake, the entrance song with the mariachis, the choreographed dance with the boys and girls who stand up in the quince, and then the food and the table centerpieces. And this is my first rodeo. I've never done any of this. So I thought maybe I should get a planner. So I got a planner. And I thought I was doing well, and I got this, and I got that, and I got this, and I thought, oh shit, we got to get to church. So I called the church, and then I got scolded by the secretary, and she says, "You don't plan anything until you get the church, scheduled." Okay, sorry. So got that. Fortunately, it coincided with the availability of the venue, which the venue was amazing because it was at Plaza La Cella in the medical center on the top floor, and you could see the sunset right along the skyline. It was beautiful out in the balcony. And we thought, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful, very elegantly decorated. And so we showed that to our daughter, and she loved it. And then the dress was just so old world that, okay, the theme is old style Cuba, old Mexican, old Latin America, 50s, 60s. And so the guys were going to wear guayaberas, which is those traditional Mexican shirts with the embroidery and the 4 pockets, straw hats, tan pants. The girls had little buns on the side. And then we talked about, well, how are you going to be transported? We can't just do it in our Nissan Murano. We got to do something. So we did we thought about 57 Chevy Bel Airs. Where are we going to find those? And thank goodness to social media. Who's got 57 Bel Airs? Who's got classic cars? So another friend said, hey, I know a car club, and they'll come. They'll come to the church and take you all over there. I'm like, all right, cool. So we got that. And then we needed a DJ, and our neighbor was going to do it. And then he worked for CVS, and he couldn't get off. And he's like, cancel. Oh, my gosh, social media again. What are we going to do with the DJ? And then the same friend with the car club said, I got a DJ. I'm going to cash in a favor. Sweet. And so then I got my student at school, and I got this. Okay, who's going to take pictures? And again, my first rodeo. And so I implored one of my commercial photography teachers, and he said, I got some students that'll do it. So I had 2 students. They took all the photos, took the video, badass pictures. And then we were talking about the mariachis, and we said, okay, what's going to be your entrance song? And she is an old soul. And so Mija said, I want the mariachis to play Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash. And I thought, oh my gosh, okay, let me pick up the phone and ask if they can do that, but I don't know. And sure enough, they did. And so it was super cool. And that was one of the aspects she told me, like in retrospect, that was one of her favorite parts of the quince. And then growing up in the restaurant business and just we're foodies, we were like, we're not going to do this usual like brisket, bland rice and beans, and Hill Country Fair sliced bread at a quince. So our food had to be like tinga de pollo, which is like shredded chicken with chipotle sauce, black beans, cilantro lime rice, and like a spring mix salad with aguacate and cilantro lime dressing. And that was our plate, $18 a plate. Okay, so here we go with the RSVPs. So we got all these people. All of the younger guests got 45 records with the invitation in the middle. And she handed them out to school. And then I made the other ones in cardstock, mailed them out. And since this place is not like a pavilion hall where you can add 10 extra tables for the people who didn't RSVP, it was Plaza Licea. So I was counting on these RSVPs and just sweating it, $18 a plate, And so they were slowly coming in, and then just that etiquette. Like, hi, are you going to come? How many? And just, hi. And so they started coming in. Okay, good. And so we were like at capacity. And again, we had an open bar. We don't want our guests to pay for their alcohol. It's a Mexican party. And so everything was going good, the cars and the photography. And then people started milling in. And we had a family that showed up with 3 kids and they didn't RSVP. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I do not want to talk to them right now. They're going to be really mad at me. And we had this cake. And so they had to send away those guests. And then the cake was another thing. It was beautiful, 4-tier, fruit filled in there. And we were all just like waiting on the cake. And again, my first rodeo, and I thought, I don't know anything. When the caterer came to me, they said, do you want us to save the top tier for the family? And I said, no, just cut it all and, we'll get a piece. And, and we're like talking to all the guests and everything's going on. And this was the most non-conventional thing. There was no like changing of the shoes in the last stall and all of that. And my daughter had her choreographed dance with the Damas and Caballeros, where it was to La Bamba. And that was another high school teacher, cheer coach, who helped with that. We like practiced in the front street of our house. And so that happened. Everything was good. Like the photographer captured pictures of the sunset that we never got to see. And then at the end, we were like, did you get a cake? Did you get a taste of the cake? No, I didn't get a taste of the cake. We didn't get a taste of this 4-tier cake with 4 fruit fillings. What in the actual hell? It's like $600 cake. I'm still waiting on the slice of cake. So make sure you all RSVP and you get a slice of the cake.
And you guys, if you don't RSVP, we're going to get you.
That's how you know it's a good party. If as a host you miss the cake or the snacks, so it was good.
Miss the sunset.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hey guys, we have some people that are coming in late. So if you have seats like over next to you, you can scoot over, or if you don't want to, that's fine. But if it's just like one, I don't think it matters, right? If it's just one, we got like one over here, one over there. You guys are fine. You guys are killing it over here. Every seat taken.
Good job.
All right. Okay, cool. We can add some more, right? I can just put it right in front of you, right?
Yeah, as much as space.
That's fine. Or we'll just leave them out there. Okay. Yeah, that'll be fine. Okay. Wow. Our next storyteller is Todd Frank. Todd is going to share a story about a friendship that came to blows.
All right. Let's bring out Todd.
My friend Andrew Douglas Shelbert looks like a South Texas version of Charlie Brown. He's got a round head, he's kind of short, kind of pudgy, got a red face from being out in the McAllen sun way too long, and his teeth are remarkably white considering the amount of Copenhagen he's dipped over the years. And when he smiles, those white teeth shine through that red face, and he looks like the Cheshire Cat. Andy and I met in 1991 at the University of Texas. He was roommates with one of my best friends from high school, and we all joined the same fraternity together. And I spent for the next 3 years, about every day with Andrew Shelbert. And in the mornings, going out with Andy, we would jump in his gray Chevy pickup truck and go down to C-Mart on 24th and get some 32-ounce Diet Cokes and a couple of cans of Copenhagen. And I would have to pay because Andy, for some reason, never had any money. And his catchphrase was, "I'll catch you on the flip." It's kind of like Wimpy from those old Popeyes cartoons, "I would gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today." Y'all know Tuesday never came. Afternoons with Andy, we would usually look for something to do besides going to class. And he would often have random ideas like, "Hey, let's go down to Buda and go see Maney Gamage, the world-famous hat maker, and have him reshape our hats." Sounded good to me, so I jumped in the truck with him and we went down to Buda. Well, after we got our hats shaped, he said, "Why don't we go on to the Rattlesnake Ranch?" Okay, so we did. And at that point, we were halfway to San Antonio, so let's go to SeaWorld. Did y'all know they closed SeaWorld? We had no idea. We got there and it was the total Wally World Marty Moose moment. "Sorry, folks, we're closed for 2 weeks." Anyhow, nights were often a little more rambunctious than that, though. And I could tell you stories about midnight runs to Crystal City or Lubbock, or the 2 times we had to sneak back across the border from Reynosa and Matamoros, or the time we wound up in the West Houston drunk tank and discovered that on Saturdays in 1993, they served Whataburger breakfast on. It wasn't all that bad. Tonight, I really want to focus on Texas OU weekend 1991. We jumped into Andy's truck and drove to Dallas for the football game. And as soon as we got there, we went straight to our hotel and we discovered we had a hotel bar, which was really okay by me because I love a good hotel bar. But Andy wanted to go out with his brother and his brother's friends, all of whom were older and most of whom I did not know. So we went with him to this house party. And as I suspected, I didn't really want to be there. I wanted to be back at the hotel. And so Andy said, "Fine, take my truck, take the guys. I'm going to go out with these folks." And so I did, and on the way back, we got a flat tire. Well, we pull into the service station, and I'm trying to get the spare out from underneath the bed of the truck, and my buddy taps me on the shoulder and says, "Todd, never mind. We had 2 flats." Because we were driving around on 4 bald tires. I mean, the steel belts were sticking out and everything. And I couldn't believe he drove us from Austin to Dallas in this unsafe vehicle. So we took a cab back to the hotel and sat there and made good use of that hotel bar all night. And late in the evening, we were in the hallway of the hotel, a bunch of us, and Andy shows up and he starts laughing at me, not with me, because I am not laughing. I am not happy. And I take his keys and I chuck them across the hallway. And Andy walks over and picks him up and comes back and he says, "Todd, you need to calm down. That is not the way to get me to calm down." So I kicked his knee out and he dropped like a sack of rocks. Here's the problem. Andy taught me how to fight. And he's tougher than I am. So as he was standing up, he puts his keys in between his fingers, like they teach you to do in self-defense class. He says, "I swear if you do that again, I'm going to break this key off in your head." And I did. And he did. He came up off the floor about 2 feet up in the air and cracked that key off in my head. And I've got a scar to prove it. And I still have the key. My friends couldn't believe I still had that key. Well, we wrestled around for about 5 minutes. Next thing I know, we were just laughing, arm in arm, sitting in against one of the hallway walls. There was blood everywhere. It looked like the Shining Hotel. We cleaned it up. And the next morning, guess who got to buy him 4 new tires and a new key? I mean, I needed a ride home the next day. Wasn't all fun and games with Andy. He was a dear, dear friend to me back in those days because I was very, very depressed. My parents had just gotten divorced, and I often felt very out of sorts amongst our friends. I felt a bit like an outsider for some reason. And I remember talking to him and saying, Andy, what do y'all think of me? And he looked at me and he said, Todd, you're the kind of friend we know we can count on to be there when we need you. And I needed to hear that. I really did. And here was the thing. That's exactly how I felt about him at that moment. And I knew that Andrew Shelbert would be with me for the rest of my life until the day he wasn't. Because on October 17th in 2015, Andy died. He just went to sleep and never woke up. He was 42 years old. And the thing is, I wasn't at his funeral. I didn't go to his funeral because I thought my boss would be mad at me for taking a day off work. And I hated that job. That was just so dumb. I regret it to this day. I wasn't there to grieve with my friends. I wasn't there to tell his parents how much I thought of him, tell his parents and his fiance and his brother how much I thought of Andy and how much he meant to me. So I came here tonight to tell all y'all. I loved Andy Shelbert. I loved him like a brother, and I miss him all the time. You know, they say you die 2 deaths in this life. You die once when you physically die, and then you die the second time, the last time someone says your name. And I thought by coming and telling these stories to you all this evening, maybe Andy could live just a little bit longer. I'll catch you on the flip, Shelbert. Thanks.
One more time for Andy Shelbert. Let him hear it. It looks like a little key, Todd. Because the rest of it is in his head.
Yes.
That's crazy. Have you ever fought with a friend?
But no keys were involved.
Yeah.
So
I'm like, stop. And then that's it. That's the end of it. She's pretty, nice.
yeah. So shout out to the friends that are not with us, but don't pour it out on the carpet. Until you get outside.
Or if you do, no, I'm just kidding. Don't. I was gonna say if you did make a joke, but then if you do, then it's gonna be a whole thing. I'll get in trouble.
All right, so our next storyteller is Bart Taylor. Bart shares a story about how the best relationships come from a little confrontation.
Yeah, give it up for Bart Taylor.
So I don't know how many of you are military veterans, but in order for some of y'all to understand this story, I'm going to have to brief y'all up on a few things. In the Army, after we finish basic combat training, we go on to what's called the Military Occupational Specialty and Advanced Individual Training, MOS-AIT. And when you are in AIT, the people who are with you become like your family. And you wake up and they're the first people you see. You train with them, you study with them, you eat with them, you get into trouble with them, they keep you out of trouble, and then they're the last people you see before you go to sleep at night. And they are some of the most dysfunctional, weirdest, dumbest, most irritating people that you will miss down to your bones when they're gone. And it's weird how close you get, but there's always sort of like this weird gap, these things you just don't talk about in the beginning or perhaps even ever. And that's something I'll get to. I was in the second half of my AIT at Madigan Army Medical Center, Washington State, and we were a motley crew, like a little statistical slice of America. A Rwandan, a Chinese American, Alaskan, a half black, half Japanese guy, and a white boy from Mississippi all walking to a Burger King. And it sounds like a joke, right? But it's actually just us going to lunch. And we were a great group. But the person I connected the most with was that white guy from Mississippi, my boy Wilson. He and I would do this thing in the morning. When we did ward rounds, we'd draw blood on the wards, and we would stock our car with nothing but pink Coban. And Coban's the stuff you wrap around the arm after you draw blood. And we just thought it was the funniest thing in the world when we'd walk into a room with like a big old high speed, like general or a captain or like a first sergeant, and we'd go to put pink Copan on. They'd be like, "Oh man, pink." And it's like, "Oh yeah, it's all they stocked the cart with." But it was after one such very early morning. We started at 4 a.m. He comes into the break room, which was actually the copier room for the lab, and everything smelled like toner, and you smell like toner at the end of the day. And he says, "Man, Taylor, I need a drink." And in that moment, I decided to mess with him. And I looked at him and said, "Not cool, bro. Not cool." And our curriculum sergeant walks in, and I could have let it drop. I could have decided to abort mission, but I decided to keep it going. And I said, "Well, Specialist Wilson here just used the N-word." And it was like someone had pulled out a gun. And Sergeant Aaron panicked. He turned to our class leader, Sergeant Bryant, and said, "Sergeant Bryant, you stay here." And Sergeant Bryant was this very, very scary, very, very quiet black woman who had worked intel before. And he said, "We're going to handle this at the lowest level. Specialist Taylor, in your own words, what happened?" And I said, "Well, Specialist Wilson came in, and he said he needed a drink." And then Sergeant Aaron said, "Then what?" I'm like, "Then you walked in." And Sergeant Aaron takes a second. He's like, "Is the N-word need?" And I was like, "Of course, Sergeant. It indicates a problematic relationship with alcohol." And what else would the N-word be? And his face was just so full of rage. And he just takes a deep breath and he's like, "Sergeant Bryant, why don't you handle this?" And he just left abruptly. And Sergeant Bryant leaned back in her chair and she pulled an apple from seemingly nowhere. And before she took a bite, she said, "Y'all just start pushing." And I was down doing push-ups, and Wilson's like, "Why me?" And it's like, "Because you have a problematic relationship with alcohol." And so we're down there, and Wilson's just glaring at me. And he says, "Man, that wasn't funny. That wasn't funny." And I was like, "A little funny. It's a little funny." He didn't talk to me for a while, but when he did eventually talk to me, the first thing he said was, "Man, what's the deal with the N-word, like the real one?" And, we talked about it. I said, racism and racial tension and, the word comes out. It's like this weight on you every day. And we didn't stop there. We talked about all these other things. And I knew Wilson was no racist. Down to his bones, there was nothing racist about him. But these were just not things he ever talked about. And, I found that there was this gap between us. And I thought we were close, but after that, we were closer. And if we wanted to build a world where we could actually be comrades with each other, we do have to talk about these things. We can't be afraid to talk about them. And, come our last day, Wilson's getting ready to head off back to his home unit, Mississippi. I was about to head off to D.C., start my 12-year career in the Army. And he's staring down at his beer, and we're just two guys having a beer on the back of a truck. And he says, "Taylor, I'll admit, it was a little funny." Thank you.
Yeah. Only that N-word. Our next storyteller is Adrian Noel. Adrian is going to share a story about a wedding he had some reservations about attending.
All right, give it up for Adrian Noel.
All righty. June 27th, 2015, one day after the Supreme Court's ruling of Oberfeld versus Hodges and marriage equality became law of the land. Right? Thanks, Obama. All around the country, people were celebrating, raising their glasses. The gays were raising their pinkies even higher to celebrate this landmark decision, and I thought we should go to church. Now, a house of prayer isn't my first choice as where to spend the weekend. I mean, there are plenty other ways I'd rather be spending on my knees. But the thing was, my dad was getting married. Not gay married, Catholic married. For the 7th time. Yeah. So I wanted to avoid the whole situation altogether. I mean, I should be at Sparky's getting a body shot off of somebody wearing a dog collar, Or maybe at the heat, drinking something fruity with an umbrella sticking out of it. So I pitched an exit plan to my sister. I told her, if we go to mass, the priest is definitely gonna say something about traditional marriage, and that would be our cue to exit, and our opportunity to just say, Shantae, we're not staying, and we just sissy that walk right out the exit. See, my parents got divorced when I was really young. It was like about kindergarten. And of course, we did the whole switching of holidays and weekends and whatnot. But shortly after the divorce, my dad got remarried. And with this new marriage came a new family. And that was the family that was embraced and welcomed with open arms to the Christmases and Thanksgivings. And so my sister and I, we really didn't have a place. So we stopped going. So these were relatives that we hadn't seen in over like a decade. We wouldn't know what they looked like, who they were. I could be passing by my cousin on the street and sooner recognize him from Grindr as opposed to a blood relative. That would be a little weird, right? Well, we're about to find out because my sister overruled me. She had already told my brother that we were going to meet him and his family at the reception. She was also probably worried that we'd be engulfed in flames the moment we touched hollow ground. So we got dolled up. You know, she put on her dress. I put on my bow tie. We were really excited about an open bar. We drove to the Frost Bank building, parked in the garage, lit up a doobie, and got higher than the heaven I won't be allowed into. Took the elevator to the ballroom on the very top floor to see exactly where all that child support went to. They must have felt lucky about number 7 because it was lavish. It was lavish. There were centerpieces at every table. There was a live band and a DJ, a buffet, bars on either side of the dance floor, and floor-to-ceiling windows that you could see the entire downtown of San Antonio. And just in the distance, I could see where the North Main Street Strip would be. And I thought about how I could be there, grinding up against somebody in a cage, but I'm here worried about tapping my cousin on Grindr. So we tried to keep a low profile as we found my brother at his table, then immediately finding the bar, which was not open. But when you're high and you're trying to go unnoticed, somebody's gonna notice you. That became evident when before I could say vodka soda, we were just swarmed with hordes of, I guess they were relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins. Thankfully, none that I recognized from Grindr. At least from the, neck up. They were just bombarding us with greetings like they haven't seen us in, forever. Like my uncle, he asked me, hey, Mio, you still into football? And I don't know what about me gave the impression that I was still athletically inclined. I was wearing a jock strap, but that was like in case the evening took a different turn. The drunk Thea came up to me, and she's drunk Theas. They're always fun. I'm the drunk Thea of my family, and she clocked me early in the night, and probably because she started saying, "I'm an ally, love wins. I voted for Obama." And then she gets a little bit more candid when she tells me, "Mommy and Daddy, they'd never get any of that stuff," and I knew she was talking about her parents, my dad's parents, and 2 people that I had never referred to as grandparents because there's nothing grand or parental about them. They were the only 2 people that were not giving us any attention, or they did not give us a second glance throughout the whole night. I mean, they're busy mingling with their family. They're also parading around their new grandson, who I guess would be my new stepbrother, some guy I'd only met twice, but he was going around the whole room as if, he'd been there the whole time. Well, I didn't think anything of it. More important things to do. The wobble just came on. So I grabbed my sister, took her out, and we wobbled. We tore up the dance floor, and it was great. Like, even drunk Thea came out, with her margarita, and we were wobbling on the floor. It was honestly not a bad time. We drank, we laughed, we danced, and as the night started to wind down, we were getting ready to leave. My father came over to say, thank you for coming. give us a hug, tell us to drive safe, and that was it. That was only the second time he had approached us that night. And, it was fine. I wasn't expecting anything more. We were just guests. So as I closed the tab to the bar by putting it on my father's, we're only the known offspring of my dad. So we took the elevator down, and on the elevator ride, I noticed that my sister was getting a little quiet. She's getting a little distant. And it wasn't until I started to see the tears in her eyes that I thought I knew what she was thinking. And I told her not to think anything of these people. Like, we're not going to see them again. Unless, there's another wedding, which is who knows. It was nothing special. Especially since it wasn't an open bar. But the look that she gave me told me that she wasn't thinking about the relatives. She wasn't thinking about my dad's parents. She was thinking about him. And I honestly don't know if she was looking for a new beginning or if she was looking to close something or if she was just looking for family. But I know she didn't get it that night. And so I started texting my friend. Us gays, we always have to have an exit strategy. And he was on standby. And we were texting back and forth. And then I look at her with a smile, and I told her, I think I know a place where we could find a lot of family. We could either go to Sparky's and get a shot, take a body shot off somebody wearing a dog collar, or we could go to the Saint, get a fruity drink with an umbrella sticking out of it. Yeah. Thank you.
Body shots after the show, or?
Yeah, I'm down.
How do you? Okay.
I just want to say I'm the fun aunt, so
Yeah.
if anybody wants to invite me to a wedding,
I think I'm the drunk aunt.
yeah, we'll go.
Yeah. Frost building, so lavish. You guys ever been? Okay, never mind. I get up there and I get dizzy. Like, it's so tall. I don't know. I'm very
I
short.
think
Never
that's
mind.
because of something else.
Oh, okay.
All right,
right.
our next storyteller is Al Alcorn. Al is going to share a story about a wild night and how drinking with anxiety typically ends with the need of a quick bathroom trip. So.
Please put your hands together for Al Alcorn.
So my partner and I love New York City. So when he told me he was going to propose in a really special place to us, I automatically assumed it was our next trip to New York. But what if it wasn't? What if I didn't? What if it wasn't? And then the anxiety started building, and I had to tell myself to sorry, I'm going to adjust this. This is really tall. My anxiety started building, and I told myself, I can't expect this. I can't sit there the entire trip with this anxiety, so I have to push this down. I can't think about this at all. So, of course, it's the only thing I thought about the entire trip, right? So we go, and we're on about just enjoying New York City, walking through, and having a great time. Now, another important side note to this story is that I also had my friend Juan with me. He's an acrylic encased piranha from Venezuela. He's with me because I won him in my dad's yearly crawfish boil 42 domino tournament. Because I'm that Southern, y'all. So we bring Juan with us on this trip, and we have pictures of him everywhere. He is swallowing the Empire State Building. He's having a vibe with the Statue of Liberty. He hangs out with us everywhere. He traveled in my partner's backpack. So on our third night, we go to one of the places that I'm the most excited about to visit. It's a great historical location, although I only have 7 minutes, so please do your own research. It's called the Stonewall Bar. If you've ever heard of it, you know it. It's great. So we go and we make it up to the second floor of the Stonewall. And it is this beautiful lounge space of just like these velvet couches, velvet stools, all this fun stuff. And it's just gorgeous, dark wood, mirrors along the back bar. And we were watching this guy play piano beautifully for karaoke that night. And we just watched this older woman come off the stage from going, "Let's do karaoke. Also, all of you young people, please vote." And I loved it, and I felt so included, and I felt so awesome, and I felt so a little tipsy that I decided I was gonna do karaoke. And you know who I was gonna do karaoke with? Juan. So I we Juan up on stage with me, and we sing "Johnny Be Good" by Chuck Berry. Well, I sing it, Juan was just there. And we have so much fun, and my partner and I sit down at the bar, and we have a couple more drinks. And we decide, you know what, let's keep this rolling, but let's keep it rolling down the street. So we find another bar. Well, we walk down the street to a CVS, we grab a brown bag drink, and then we find another bar. And we make it to this other gay club because we see a drag show going on, and it's amazing. So we walk in, we watch the drag show. Afterwards, they're taking photos. Juan gets in between some fake titties. It's great. And we meet this group of people that are in town for a business conference. These are people from like all over the world. At this point, this is a gay bar. If you don't know about the gay poor, every single, double. So at this point, we're about 10 drinks in, give or take. And we are just drunk enough for me to try to explain gender identity to the person that doesn't understand English as well as I do. Or, you know, there's a language barrier on top of the fact that their language has like señorita and señor. There's gender in the language. They didn't understand it, and I was drunk enough to try to explain it to them. So we keep going, we keep drinking, and we make it our way back down to Stonewall because we drove with strangers. I don't know where we found them. We make it back to Stonewall. At this point, I am about not remembering anything. We have a couple more drinks at Stonewall, and then my partner starts dragging me out so that we can try to make it to the subway station. So I'm drunk, so I don't know where I am. So that means that my partner, the Marine, who's about, 100 pounds heavier than me, who drank the same amount of me, he has to be as drunk as I am. He doesn't know where he's going. And I tell him that about 50 times as we are trying to find the subway station. And eventually he tunes me out, and we make it to the subway station, and we make it on the subway, and as soon as we sit down, I gotta puke. And so my patient partner gets me off on the next station, and I make really good friends with a public trash can, y'all. And as I'm puking into this trash can, between it, I look up and I go, I got pee. And I continue my friendship with the trash can. And I come back up for air, and I go, it's fine, I don't have to pee anymore. Can we go home now? So we get back on the subway. I sit my wet ass down on that plastic subway station, and we walk our way back to our hotel in Queens, and I just sit on the floor of the shower and let my sins get washed away by just fully clothed. And my partner is sitting on the toilet as I just cry my eyes out and just let the anxiety of the week out in this very fetal position-like situation. And I'm going, I thought you were gonna propose to me. And it didn't happen. And that's how our night goes. And had I paid attention, I might have noticed a very confused and what face on my partner, but I was too focused on the crying and the so the next day, I have the worst hangover I have ever had. I mean, no plans that were planned that day were ever going to happen that day. I was sick. It turned into a get the cheap Chinese food down the street. I'm not leaving this room. And then the next day, my partner is finally able to take me to this hotel restaurant right outside of the Central Park. And I complained the entire time because I worked at a hotel restaurant and I know all the corners they cut. And my complainy little butt just followed him down Central Park going, they cheaped out on the bacon. The salmon was so dry. Like, why did you even order that? And we make it down to a little pavilion called the Dairy. And there's a shop right there. And there's a bench that you sit on. Oops, sorry. And my partner is digging through his bag and going, I can't find, can you hold this? Can you hold this? Hey, I can't find this. Can you hold Juan real quick? And then he pulls out a blue velvet box and he goes, can you hold this? Oh, wait, no, not that one. And my partner's sitting over there somewhere and I'm not gonna look at him. But we got married in October of last year, so thank you very
much. Congrats, you guys.
Aww. Can you propose to me? That was so cute.
Yeah, somebody get proposed to tonight,
that made me
please.
believe in marriage for a second. It's gone. All right, it's gone. Woo, that was a close one. So many emotions. What does this feel like? You guys, okay.
One emotion is jealousy.
Honestly.
Lana sounds very well traveled, fake titties and all.
Yeah.
I'm a little jealous, so.
That guy has stories. We'll get him on the next worth repeating. It'll be tight. I love a fake titty story. Okay.
Yeah.
They always want to show them to you. Okay. They do in the you guys know. In the
Anybody?
bathroom. You ever been in the bathroom and like, no, okay, they are nice.
They are.
All right. Holy shit. Okay. Sorry, I'm still like, do you guys hear that story? It's fine. Love is real for them.
Yeah. Hey, partner. Congrats.
I know. Can you stand really quick, you anomaly? That was so... All right, sit down. That's enough. Okay, that's enough. Ooh. Our final storyteller is now. Are you guys ready or what? Okay. Our final storyteller of the night is Jordan Maney. Jordan is going to share a story about a big old wedding and an untrustworthy groomsman.
Uh-oh. All right. Let's put it together for Jordan Maney.
Okay. A long, long time ago, in a land just inside the 410 loop, lived a wedding planner on the verge of losing her shit, a couple on the verge of the best night of their lives, and a groomsman hell-bent on breaded chaos. It was the 5th year of my wedding planning business. You know, the year where you're burnt out but delusional enough to think you can persist. Why not? But in walks the warmest, kindest, sweetest couple you've ever met of medical students. They were amazing. They were Nigerian American, so this wedding was a big deal. It was going to be a testimony to the parents' sacrifice, as well as a celebration of how far the family has come. No pressure, right? So originally the plan was 350 people, nice 1-hour Catholic mass, and somehow in the plan it ballooned to over 500 people with a change. I don't know if you've ever done this before, don't recommend it, with a change of a cathedral, like 6 weeks before the event. And it was Fiesta weekend. Yeah, let that settle in. But I made it work because it was me. And we landed at Sacred Heart Chapel at Our Lady of the Lake. It was wonderful. We get to the night before at rehearsal. I meet, let's call him TJ. He might listen to this. I mean, TJ, 6'3", bronze god, another medical student, the man of honor, right? The best man of honor, the best man. And I like to alleviate some pressure off of my couple, so I, enlist the wedding party with a little help. And I'm like, TJ, I just need you to get 2 things for me. Cake plates, cake forks. That's it. Here's screenshots where you can get it. You'll be good. He tells me, Jordan, I got you. And my fatal error is believing him. So the morning of the wedding is here. All the planning is done. We just got to go into the flow of the day. And I meet my assistant at the hotel lobby. And this is a device called foreshadowing. Don't know if you know it, but we walk into the lobby and there are 3 elevators, but only one is working. Yeah. So we go up, we say hello to the bridesmaids, you go to the groomsmen's room, and this is when the critical exchange between TJ and I happen, right? TJ gives me a big bag, and I'm like, yes, he did it. I look in it, I see forks, I see spoons, and I make my second fatal error in trusting that there were cake plates at the bottom of this huge bag. Wait for it. So we get to the ceremony. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Everybody's super happy. And we finally transition to the part that everybody cares about, which is the reception. We get in there and it's just magical. You see all the little details that you have been having damn near panic attacks about for the past 18 months come together. Everything looks so beautiful. Everybody looks so happy. And there's these beautiful cultural touches too, like the Igbo prayer and the blessing of the couple with a kola nut. And you're just like, oh, loving it, right? And then we get to, if you're not aware, a critical juncture in a wedding, which is the cake cutting. The cake cutting is the unofficial end of a wedding. If you're a guest who's 50 plus and has some things to do in the morning, okay? If you're a colleague or a coworker who just wants to be like, I did my time, or you're a grandparent who doesn't want to see your grandchild twerking to WAP on the dance floor, you know that cake cutting is the time to head out. And so I'm just like, oh, all in the moment. I prance on over to the cake table. Underneath is the bag with all the goodies that TJ provided me. And I'm thinking in my head, like, this cake cutting is kind of like Simone Biles at the Olympics, right? There's a dismount, and then there's a landing. This is my moment. I open the bag, and I take out the forks, and I see the spoons, and I put those on the table. And then I look in the bag, and I see that there are just more forks. And I don't know if you're good at math, but no plates plus over 500 people because friends have showed up at this point means I'm going to be sitting there feeding people cake like communion. So I'm trying to not let the pressure mount. I'm like, you know what? That's why venue staff is here. I go to the high and low looking for venue staff. Can't find them. Call them, nobody's answering. Texting, nobody's responded. And now the pressure is really picking up. I head to TJ and I'm like, yo, where are the cake plates that you said that you got me? And he was like, oh my God, Jordan, I must have left them in the hotel room. Now, usually, I would have just told him, go get it. But I don't know what I was thinking that day. And I was like, give me your key card. I'll go get it. Yeah, I know. I raced to the hotel. And remember that bit about foreshadowing? Yeah. So all the elevators are out. And I'm like, well, I guess we're doing this. So I huff, I puff, and I haul my ass up 7 flights of stairs to get to this room. I hit the key card. I kick the door open. I look at this table, and I start to think maybe a medical event happened on the stairwell because that doesn't look like cake plates. So I take a picture. I send it to my assistant, and she responds with the answer that I needed, which was, nah, that's bread. Nature's own honey wheat, to be precise. And I'm just kind of like, okay, that's fine. I told the MC to stall. It's fine. I still have a little time. Cake plates. We're going to get cake plates. Walmart. It's fine. TJ is not there for me to strangle, but I make my way back down the stairs, get in the car, head to Walmart. I don't know if y'all have been to a Walmart on a Saturday night during Fiesta. There are things on the floor that I cannot unsee. And that happened to be where the cake plates were, on the bottom shelf. And so I'm in a dress and I have lashes that are just gargantuan, but I'm okay. And I'm just like getting on the floor trying to collect as many plates as I possibly can. And then I realize there's only 300. There are over 500 people who need to eat. And oh my God, wouldn't it be great if I just got in the car and I drove to Mexico and I could open a bar on the beach and it'd be wonderful. And then I get a call from my assistant. Hey, venue staff has plates. Just come on back. The drive in the car is wonderful. I get to the door of the venue and the last person I want to see greets me, TJ. TJ's like, oh my God, Jordan, I was so worried about you. Where were you? And I looked at him deep in his eyes, and I said, TJ, give me $40. And he gives me two 20s, and I said, this is for the cake plates. This is for wasting my time. Head over to the cake table, cut the cake up, everybody. It's none the wiser. It's a wonderful event. It closes. We send the couple off. I'm exhausted. TJ looks back at me and he's like, oh my God, Jordan, you did such a great job. Do you want to come to the after party? Hell no. Thanks, y'all.